Ladies, gentlemen, and others, welcome back to Boz Comics. Today, finally, we're going to talk about Batwoman Season 1, Episode 1, the pilot episode. The pilot that everyone, including myself, just knew in our heart of hearts was going to be this terrible, like, super woke, agenda-driven cringe fest. Ruby Rose made a lot of really inflammatory comments about just like, how white men are awful. And, that the trailers were all like, this suit will be perfect when it's made for a woman. And, it's been memed to death now, right? Like, I'm not going to let a man take credit for a woman's work, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not going to bury the lead here, guys. I'm going to just like get right into this. The show's not that bad. It's really not. At least the pilot wasn't. Was it great? No. No, it wasn't. It's a CW superhero show. They're all some flavor of bad. But at least for me, they've never been like unwatchable. And as I said in my previous video on this topic, I think a large part of that is like a somewhat begrudging long-term investment in the Arrowverse. But I mean, generally, as much as I know these shows to be bad, I still kind of enjoy them. Batwoman's pilot was not really that bad. It was not high art by any means, but it was not the woke cringe fest, to me at least, that I think a lot of us were expecting. I have seen a lot of negativity online, and I mean, you can like what you like. That's totally valid. That's fine. I think the show has largely been review bombed. I think a lot of people commentating on it have not actually watched the episode. That's just my gut feeling. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who are ripping the show to shreds and have actually watched the episode and given like proper form to their thoughts and their feelings. I'm just saying that, like, I have a feeling that some of this criticism is coming from people who just kind of saw the trailers and already made up, like, in their minds, like, they made the decision what they thought the show was going to be. And I don't know if I necessarily blame them for that. It's not something I like to do. I like to try and consume media honestly if I'm going to be putting my opinion out there. But I also do understand what it's like to be like attacked, right? When you see these like actors and these producers, right, going out there and talking trash about how like you should like feel shame because you're a male, Oh God, you're a white male? All those two things together, we gotta lose your body in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle just to bring balance to the world, right? And that's like really spiteful, and it's shitty to hear that, right? Again and again and again, it's rough. And there's so much of that in pop culture these days. It's just people pushing these really like toxic agendas, like even when they have the best of intentions. It's painful. It's exhausting to see properties that we care about like kind of supplanted by these extremists. I totally get that. But in this instance, I think people are jumping to conclusions about the show. Ruby Rose does okay. Her accent is a little flimsy, but it's also not the worst I've ever heard. She is not super jacked. She doesn't look like she should be able to like beat the shit out of a full-grown man. I get it. But that's a common criticism I hear, when it comes to stuff like this. And I've leveled this myself at some properties in the past, right? This idea that like we're building these like certain female action heroes up to be these like brawling powerhouses, and their physiques do not really support that fantasy very readily. I've never been a fan of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. For numerous reasons. I don't like her accent for Wonder Woman because I grew up my biggest exposure to Wonder Woman has always been the DCAU cartoons. So I don't like Gal Gadot's accent for Wonder Woman. It really takes me out because I can't stop going, why does Wonder Woman have this foreign accent? Um, I also think Gal Gadot is built like a twig. I don't like that for Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman should be really muscular and shapely, you know? I I I don't look at Gal Gadot and her warrior regalia and think this is a woman who can stand toe to toe with Superman. Now, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman has an advantage over somebody like Ruby Rose in that we know that Wonder Woman is supposed to have superhuman strength. You know, she's like a titan. She can not like a Greek titan. That's not what I mean. Like she has mystical powers that, you know, allow her to perform at a level beyond that which her physical appearance might suggest. Ruby Rose does not have that kind of benefit going for her. Ruby Rose is just, you know, or Kate Kane, I suppose I should say. Kate Kane is just a woman in a batsuit, relying on tech and gadgetry that she borrowed from Bruce Wayne. God, I have a lot of thoughts about this. I'm gonna try to like get them out as efficiently as possible, but you'll have to forgive me. Um, but as for that whole physicality argument, I think that's something that you just got to accept to a certain extent, because like you want to have this fantasy, and I do too. I don't know about you guys, but I like seeing kick-ass women. I do. And do we know that, yeah, in reality, is it really kind of a rarity that, like, even well-trained women are going to stand toe-to-toe with men twice their size? Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch, but I've also sparred with some women before who could kick my ass, no question. I mean, it's a real thing. Maybe not to the extent that these shows, like, always kind of portray, but it's a fantasy. And it's worth noting, so if you watch this show, Kate Kane does fight a man in one particular scene, and she fucking, you know, throws herself in there, and she's like throwing punches, and she's like going ham, and it's a lot of back and forth. Ultimately, she loses that fight. She loses the fight and gets knocked the fuck out and captured by the villain. Like, so I think that's kind of important, right? Like, okay, I mean, is she not allowed to, these people saying like, oh, she's too small, she's a woman, how can she fight these grown men? Like, I mean, she lost, dude. Is she not allowed to put up like some semblance of a fight? She's supposed to be our superhero, you know? She has like training in the military, of course, as part of her background. And then beyond that, though, like they do it right, man. Like to an extent, they talk about like she's been training independently to try to be worthy of becoming a member of her father's private security force, the Crows. I am not going to go through this. Like, I'm not going to spoil the whole episode. I suppose I maybe I should have led with that, but I have no interest in like going through like the whole show, like the minutia, like plot point by plot point. One, because I think you should watch this show. Like if you've watched the show, then you already have your opinions and you already know what happens. If you haven't watched the show, I want to convince you to watch it. I don't want to replace your experience of watching it. All I'm trying to do is maybe attack some of the criticisms that I've seen that I think are a little maybe caution you against some things that you might or might not like, and kind of encourage you to like go and see this and form your own opinion. But where was I? So yeah, the physicality argument, right? She gets into this fight, she fucking puts up a good fight, which is something that women can do sometimes, especially if they're highly trained, and ultimately she loses, okay? And then on top of that, there's another fight towards the end where she fights like against the big bad, and she struggles a lot. And I mean, she achieves her objective in that fight, but spoiler alert, the bad guy gets away. So these people like really go, how is this woman like being so badass? Like, I think we need to just dial it back a little bit, okay? I'm not gonna start accusing people of being misogynists, right? I'm not a blue check mark on Twitter. But I do think, well, I'll save. There's a point I was about to make. I'm gonna save it for my closing remarks at the end of the video here, because some of these things are gonna like tie into a larger theme that I've noticed that I want to talk about. So the physicality thing, the misandry. A lot of people were expecting a lot of misandry from this. I didn't really see it. I saw some things that might make people cringe, but I think they're projecting a little bit. Kate Kane, the character, has always been gay. Gay as shit. Not bisexual, gay. Super gay. Kate Kane is gay. She is a lesbian hero. There are not a lot of lesbian heroes, at least not, ones that are in the public eye, not ones that people really give a shit about, okay? Kate Kane is an icon to a lot of gay readers out there, and traditionally she's been written really well in the comics. She went through a really amazing arc in recent years in the pages of Detective Comics. She's awesome. She's an equal to Bruce. She's different from him, but they have a mutual respect. They're family. They love one another. They're very much on the same level. It's not like Batwoman is like lording over Bruce Wayne. Now, there was a lot of speculation going into this that like this was going to be a very anti-Batman show. It's not. It's not. It's not so far an anti-man show. It's focusing a lot on female relationships because the main character is gay. Now, if that's not for you, like that's, and I don't mean like it's not made for you. What I mean is like if that's not to your taste, I gotta be very careful with my words because that phrase, it's not for you, has been heavily abused by lunatics. But if you are not interested in seeing like a lesbian romance, that's totally fine. I don't normally like invest my time in homosexual romances in fiction. It's just not something I like to consume. I don't have a problem with it. I just can't get very often invested in it. I've read some gay fiction in the past that I thought was pretty dope. I managed to kind of connect with the characters, but I can't relate on that level very easily as a heterosexual guy. So, gay fiction is not something I typically partake in. Lesbian fiction, it's a little bit easier. Maybe because I'm a straight dude and lesbians. I mean, come on. I'll be honest, maybe that's part of it. But, there's a lot of focus on female energy and female relationships because the main character is gay. Duh. But it's really not bad. Kate Kane in this does have some animosity towards Batman. What I will say is it's born out of an actual place. It's not because he's a man and she has some issue with powerful men. It comes from a real character place. It's born of a misunderstanding that goes a long way towards being cleared up by the end of the first episode. And honestly, she takes on like a certain level of respect for Batman the further we get into the episode and presumably going forward. So it's really not this big like anti-male, anti-Batman thing that I think a lot of us were expecting. What else? Physicality, the anti-male, the anti-Batman, even things like that whole right, the super cringe line from the first big trailer, right? The suit is perfection. Well, it will be when it fits a woman. That line doesn't mean what you think it means, and I fell for it too. The way, out of context, it sounds like girl power bullshit, and because that's how it was marketed. Real talk, whoever cut this trailer together, or not whoever cut this trailer together, whoever made the decision to have this trailer made in this way needs to lose their jobs, because this person, like whoever made that decision that this is how we're going to promo this show, they handicapped this show by making it so anti-male, so fuck you, so aggressive. The show is not that. It's not that, at least not so far. They misrepresented the show. And myself and a lot of others, I think we were very taken in by that. Maybe they were hoping for outrage and marketing points, but I don't. I mean, if you look at the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, what have you, I don't know. I think if that was their plan, I think it was a stupid plan. I'd rather market with quality than outrage, but maybe that's why I'm not a very good businessman. I haven't sold a book in a while. Where was I? So that's that line, right? That dreaded line. It will be when it fits a woman. That's taken out of context. In context, it really comes across much more of like, I need the suit. Like, the suit's great. It's not gonna fit me. I need you to make it fit me. It's too big for me. That's how it comes across in context. This comes kind of towards the climax where she decides to take on elements of the Batman persona to inspire fear in criminals. It's funny because her whole arc is like, like much like it is in the comics. She's inspired by Batman. She doesn't just steal his shit. Now, the way she comes by Batman's secret, the way she comes by his gear, it is a little, more than a little. It's pretty fucked up. It is like we've seen in some of the promos. She kind of barges into the man's house, kind of forces her way past Luke Fox, who is a terrible stereotype. Luke Fox, quick aside, Luke Fox in the comics, aka Batwing. I haven't seen much of him lately. I don't even know if he's still alive. I presume he is. He was around for quite a while in Detective Comics. I don't remember what happened to him. Luke Fox in the comics is kind of like Tony Stark, almost. He's Lucius Fox's son. He is kind of a Tony Stark figure, kind of arrogant, kind of brash. I never really liked his character that much. He's just black Tony Stark to me, and rude and obnoxious, and I just never really enjoyed him that much. In this, he's not that. He's basically Curtis. He's basically the Arrow version of Curtis Holt, aka Mr. Terrific, which is, again, nothing like Curtis Holt from the comics. They took a very masculine, traditional hero with a brilliant mind, and they made him gay. When I say made him gay, I don't want to be like some of those idiots out there on the internet who don't realize that Kate Kane and Batgirl are two separate characters. There were people, they made Batwoman gay. What's wrong with you? Like, no, you dumb fucks. Batwoman's always been gay. She's not Batgirl. I don't want to be like those people, so I don't know if Curtis Holt has ever been gay. I didn't think he was. I could be wrong. Please correct me in the comments rather, if Curtis Holt has traditionally been gay. I thought he was straight, but that might just be me making assumptions. But yeah, they basically took Curtis Holt's character and they just transplanted him onto their version of Luke Fox, which I think was a bad call. I think the affectations, I think, are kind of harmful. I think it's kind of ridiculous. Not every gay person needs to act the same way. Not every gay smart person needs to act the same way. It's a little ridiculous. I don't know what they're playing at. That was a really dumb move. Maybe that will change going forward. We're going to talk about that in a second. But yeah, he's not a very fun character. It's not the actor's fault. It's just whoever decided, yeah, the director, I assume, is the one to blame for this. Like, whoever's like, yeah, do this. This is how I want you to interpret this character. Dumb idea. Terrible idea. But so Kate kind of steamrolls past Luke Fox and barges in, like forces her way into the secret bat space and starts kind of taking up Bruce's shit. But it's also it's possible they're gonna go forward with that and treat that kind of behavior, those anger issues, that pouty, like fucking mad against the world, chip on your shoulder, like over aggression kind of thing. I think that might be something this show is actually going to address as a character flaw. by which point, like, I think that kind of invalidates a lot of the criticism. Like, then it's criticism directed at the character rather than like a criticism we need to direct at the quality of the writing. I don't know. That maybe that's me being overly optimistic because maybe the show has kind of imparted me with Stockholm syndrome, where I was expecting it to be so terrible that seeing it be less that, has kind of made me see positive qualities that aren't there. But uh so Luke Fox is a bit cringy. I think it's a bad call. Kate Kane is really kind of aggressive and criminal towards him. That's not cool. She like fucking puts him in hold. She like borderline injures him. That was a bad call. Unless we address that, and that's actually like a character flaw of hers that she needs to work on, which could genuinely be very interesting. And I'm fine with that if that's what they're doing. If they're just gonna treat that as like that's okay, that's what insert the Thor meme, right? Like that's what heroes do. That's fucked up, and I would have a problem with that. Um, let's see. Anything else character-wise that needs discussing? We talked about the physicality. We talked about Luke Fox. We talked about it's not a man-hating propaganda piece, at the very least, not yet. Not all the visuals look that good. I agree with your boy Zach over at Comics Matter. I think the location shots were pretty cool. I think like a lot of the set design was pretty fun. I enjoyed it aesthetically. There's a lot of elements to this that people are gonna find ridiculous, but like you got to remember that this is like a TV superhero show. It's campy and dumb. It's a soap opera with dressed up in superhero costumes. That's what these shows are. Now, like you have to understand that going in. That's what this network. That's what all these shows are. If you weren't expecting that, then like you were lying to yourself. Like I'm sorry, who hurt you? That's what these shows are. I would love a more serious take, right, on some of these characters in live action, in an episodic TV format. I would love that. I've been saying for a very long time that what we really need is an episodic Batman show, like Arrow, but actually Batman, who is just way cooler than Oliver Queen. I'm sorry, because then you could have like, your drama all the time, because Bruce Wayne is inherently perfect for it because of his whole like I can only get so close to women. I use them for like crime fighting beards, right? Like it's perfect for the CW's soap opera shenanigans. Bruce Wayne's tragic love life, followed by brutal vigilantism, slow burn detective work, Batman would probably be a lot easier to shoot, honestly, especially if you keep him kind of gadget light because he moves in the shadows all the time. So that's the thing. The costume design, I liked it. I don't know. I feel like people are going to tear me apart because I liked this show a little bit. I didn't love it, but I kind of enjoyed elements of this. Like, I thought Ruby Rose looked pretty fun in the Batsuit. I thought it worked. I'll have to watch it again. Maybe it'll look more ridiculous to me when I watch it again. But like in her feminized batsuit, I thought she looked pretty okay. She looked tiny. She looked like a woman because she's a fucking woman. She's a woman. Like if you can't handle that, like if it takes you out, if what I'm saying is if it takes you out of the piece too much to see a pretty average sized woman doing all these like super heroics, like I'm not going to convince you otherwise. Like, all right. If that breaks your immersion, I can kind of see that. Then this isn't going to be for you. But aesthetically, like I kind of dug it. I have much bigger concerns. This is a spoiler. She doesn't get the full, by the end of the first episode, she doesn't even have the red hair, the red wig, and the red accents to make it her own, which I honestly thought was kind of interesting that by the end of the pilot, we haven't even gotten to that shit yet. When we saw that stuff in the larger Arrowverse crossover from last year, I was so torn on it. Like part of me kind of enjoyed the look of her Batwoman costume, and then another part of it was like, ugh, that's ugly as fuck. I don't know. I can't decide. It probably depends on the lighting, I guess. So that's a bit about the costumes and production design. Is it some of it a little cheap? Yeah, but I mean, it's not like Power Rangers level, for God's sake. It's not like a less charming Doctor Who, for God's sake. Like, it's really not that bad. It's not. Like, it's not a great show, but nothing about this is, like, terrible, I thought. Um, let's see. Right, so I'm getting close here. I'm starting to wrap up. Um, okay. So, ba 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 ba. Um, I think that one of the problems is that we're really all hypersensitive at this point because we're used to being attacked. That I mean, there's nothing else for it. We're used to people coming in and invading our nerd space, if you will, taking these beloved characters and then kind of like adapting them to suit their agendas and then turning them back around on the fans and using these characters as vehicles to tell us that we suck. And it's hurtful and it's awful and it's like making a place that you've been a part of for a long time start to feel unwelcoming. That's not fun for anybody, and it's wrong that they keep doing that. But I think that we're so used to fending off attacks from within our own hobby that we're starting to jump at shadows, and I think that's been a problem for a long time. Now, maybe part of this is also because I consider myself to be a sane liberal. Like, I'm very much on the left. I am very, very much on the left. Um, Maybe a libertarian, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I forget what the political compass last said about me when I took it, but um, I am very much on the left. But I also like, my thing has always been I'm on the left, but I support free speech and, freedom of expression, but art. And I don't think we should be running around calling people names and casting dispersions on people. I think we should be challenging ideas and having rational discourse and blah, blah, blah. And that's hate speech. And now YouTube is probably going to delete my channel because I said these things, but fuck them. But, I think we're just too sensitive. I think we're just too used to, we're so ready for an attack that our trigger fingers are itchy and we're going off half cocked all the time. I'm mixing gun metaphors. I apologize. But yeah, I think we need to toughen up a little bit. That doesn't mean we can't criticize these shows, but people are reeing about Batwoman. I think they're just seeing what's actually happening is they're not interested in a lesbian narrative because they've been attacked by the actress and other people attached to the production, especially some of the more conservative audiences, which I cannot agree with, who think that there's something like wrong with being gay and they think it's wrong to show gay relationships on television. I've had many arguments with those kinds of people, and I will never agree with them. I think they need to kind of get with the times, but those people are going to hate this no matter what. Standard CW quality is hated by many people, including me. So there's that. There's people who, like I said, they don't find it believable that this woman of average size, maybe a little taller than average, can throw down with a, oh no, she's pretty short actually, isn't she? Yeah, she's actually pretty short. So this like really tiny woman, right? Like I'm remembering some of her nude scenes in Orange is the New Black, and for some reason I think she just looks so pretty to me. I kind of imagine that woman is taller, but she's really not. She's pretty small. So for the people that are like, this small woman, she can fight these men. If that's a problem for you, you were gonna hate the show no matter what. You were never gonna take the show seriously. Some of the story elements were not that great. Some of the dialogue is kind of cringy. I was watching a review from the EFAP guys. I love them, but they are really critical, and they have a right to be. There's nothing wrong with criticizing art, but like they hated the narration. There's classic Arrow narration in this. Arrow, before Oliver had anybody to talk to, before there was a Team Arrow, right? At least before Diggle joined, Oliver, we would just hear his narration in his head for like the first like 3 episodes, I think. And we kind of got away from that as he built a support cast around him. I wonder if they're going to do something similar with Batwoman, where maybe just for the pilot, she's going to have narration and then like moving away from that later on. Because a lot of people hate narration. It's widely panned as a lazy filmmaking technique. So I wouldn't be surprised if that gets done away with pretty quickly. But people who hate narration are going to hate this fucking pilot. The people who just don't want to be attacked, and that's reasonable, right? But they just don't want to like have people shit talk them. They're not going to watch this. Stop denigrating your audiences. They haven't done anything. They're allowed to have questions. They're allowed to be skeptical. Please stop talking shit on entire genders or entire races. It's a terrible, awful thing to do. You're a bad person for doing that. It's a bad play. It's bad business. It's a shitty way to treat people. Stop it. What the fuck is wrong with you? Everyone who does that is an asshole. So for a lot of reasons, though, I think people are very sensitive to this, and I think they wrote the show off before it even began. And I think they were looking for things in a lot of cases. A lot of them might just genuinely not like it, and that's totally fine. But I do think that some of us are raw. I don't think it's necessarily our fault. I think a lot of us, were put here in this place by people just being awful and disrespecting these characters, disrespecting us. But now we're just primed and ready to go off at the slightest slight. And I think that's something that we need to work on for our own sakes, because it's going to make things more enjoyable overall. So yeah, the oversensitivity thing. Okay, last point I think I'm going to make. And Jesus Christ, this video is going to be long. Sorry, guys. But if you've been around the channel for a while, you know that's how we do. The last point before I wrap this up. This was a pilot. This was filmed, what, like 8-9 months, I think, before this, before we're seeing it now. So, a couple of things. A lot of people have suggested, Young Rippa, I think in particular, was talking about this, and I happen to agree with him, that maybe this trailer was edited to an extent in response to the backlash. They saw the terrible response online that this was getting, and they kind of cut, they adjusted as they could. It is possible they made a more toxic show than we were perhaps prepared for initially. I misspoke. It is possible that they made a more toxic show than what we ultimately got in the first episode. It's possible that they saw it and they had enough sense to go, we fucked up. We have to make some changes. So that's very possible. Now, the problem might be that I don't know how much course correction they can do. Like, if the episodes are already shot, if that shit's already in the can, if you'll pardon the metaphor there, I don't know how much they can really do to move forward in that altered course direction. I don't know if they're going to want to, unfortunately, because I think this is a problem I think that we see a lot in this community. They don't give the other side enough credit. What I mean by that is they don't really, because the other side, quote unquote, doesn't operate in good faith, our side doesn't readily operate in good faith. I don't think there's enough of a, what I think that happens a lot of times is people see, like, some of these people, right, that are like, shit talking like white privilege and like Nazis everywhere and everyone who doesn't like the show is terrible and blah, 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 blah. Like, some of these people, yeah, they make it all up. But a lot of people, because I know a lot of people who are very liberal, right? The college crowd, if you will. A lot of these people, they have good intentions. They don't see themselves as the bad guys, right? Like, few quote unquote bad guys see themselves as such. If you're a fan of comic books, you should know this. And I think what happens is, like, these people, right? They see themselves as the good guys, and they don't like racism. They don't like sexism. The problem is they see things like that everywhere, where I don't think there is any. But that's the thing. They're seeing these things, and they feel they have to fight back against it, however misguided they may be. So if they're putting together this product with this intention of being like super girl power and fighting against the patriarchy and fighting back against sexism and probably opposing like racism too, right? And bigotry against the LGBT community, whatever, if these are issues that they want to tackle, I am afraid that if they're going to see this vitriol and they're going to be like, well, fuck it then, we might as well just go with the whole hog, like, why would they want to cater to us? Because the reaction has been so negative. Young Rip, if you want to see a like more videos that kind of that I think give this show a fair shake. Young Rippa has a really good nuanced take. He got into some criticisms in his video that I'm just not going to have time for here. Your boy Zach, I thought your boy Zach was going to hate this, and I didn't give him enough credit. He too, like, treated this pretty fairly. Now, I don't know how much, if there were edits made, I don't know how much of that we're going to see going forward. It could be they're going to double down on the changes. They could be like, wow, no, fuck, emergency brakes, motherfucker. We have to course correct but quick. And we got to butcher these episodes, get everyone in for secret reshoots. Let's go, 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 go. We could see that. That could happen. It is also possible, like I said, they'll just get angry and spiteful and say, fuck it, in the face of all this vitriol and just move forward with the full, feminazi dish, just force feed it down our throats, the whole thing all at once, and watch us choke to death. But it is also possible, and I don't know if I really believe this, but I'd like to be optimistic. It is also possible that this less offensive than anticipated version of the show is what was written and what was shot. That could very well be the case. It could be that the show was never going to be as bad as a lot of us were, again, I want to say this, understandably anticipating. I thought it was fun. And maybe that makes me like a bad critic, but I genuinely, I didn't expect much from it. I had fun. It was a dumb superhero show. It was catered towards an LGBT audience. Whatever. That's okay. Kate Kane is a gay character. They wanted to try something new. They wanted to kind of go in this direction. The inclusion of LGBTQ characters does not automatically make something terrible, okay? Now, they need to be better about the marketing for this show. They need to stop denigrating men. They need to stop, pushing so hard with this ham-fisted girl power narrative, because I think it's a little obnoxious. I think it does more harm than good, and I think that if you really want to empower women, I think you need to just show them being awesome on their own merits, rather than keep harping on the fact that, girls rule and boys drool, girls go to college to get more knowledge, boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider, whatever the fuck. Anyway, like, we got to get away from that, I think. I think the marketing has really hurt this show. Now, CW shows seem to just not die, so I think we could see like 6-7 seasons of this, no matter how terribly rated it gets on Rotten Tomatoes. We'll have to see. If this is the first show to go down in flames out of the Arrowverse, that's going to be really telling. But anyway, I know this was a really long video. I also know, like, this channel is very slowly starting to get traction, and I might get shit on all over for making this video, but I'm going to be honest. Like, honesty and integrity are important to me, so I'm just going to tell it straight. I didn't think it was high art. I thought there was like bad dialogue. I thought there was like some bad writing, elements. Gratuitous flashbacks. We didn't really talk about that. There's like a flashback that's used, and then like 5 minutes later, not even, it's used again, and that's ridiculous. That was bad choice. But the elements that I didn't like about it were pretty minor. I think people just expected to hate this show, and so they did. But, the show might not be for you. And that's okay if you don't like it. That's dope. But the show is not like the worst thing to ever hit the airwaves. I promise you, it's really not that bad. And if you're just looking for some dumb superhero entertainment to check out, if you want to see a pretty woman, I think she's pretty. She looks like a man. Whatever. I like her. I think she's hot. Fuck you. But if you just want to see like a pretty looking woman, be a bit of a badass, and wear a bat suit and fight crime, check it out. There's a lot worse things you could be doing with your time. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please don't kill me for having an opinion. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Bye-bye.